Hi everybody, we are live in Kitchen Confidential. We are here to tell the truth about UC applications. Have no fear, we're here tonight with Dr. Cynthia Cologne and Vince Garcia from Q&A College Admissions and myself, Caryl Kristensen, also from Q&A. And tonight we are going to give a quick overview about the landscape of the University of California. We're going to go over a profile of a student, and then we're going to talk about a UC application boot camp that we're offering this summer on multiple dates. And we're going to help you attack this application with finesse and quality. So let's start with you, Cynthia. Can you give us an idea of the UC landscape and what we saw this year?
Yeah, well, first of all, thanks for everyone who's going to join on. And I couldn't tell you, this is the best time to be thinking about the application. I mean, right? It's never too early.
Right.
But basically, when you hit the ground running in school,
right,
come fall, seniors have so much on their plate.
Yep.
They have so much on their plate. So it's the best time to think about the essays is now. So with that being said, here we are in Los Angeles.
Yes.
There are a total of 9 UCs. Most people don't know that there are actually 9 UCs, but 8 of them are undergraduate schools. And of those 8, this past year, 4 of them had over 100,000 applications. And 5 of them had over 75 or over 80,000 freshman applications. So that number is huge.
It's huge, and there's very few other university systems in the world that sort of match the sheer numbers of the number of people, high school seniors who want to go to the University of California.
Right. I mean, we are so blessed to have really 8 of the best undergraduate universities in our state,
mm-hmm.
right? And so I think most students don't even know, and families and parents, if you're listening, you have to be in the top 9% of all the California seniors to be able to be admitted to one of these schools. So it is a great feat to get into any of the UCs. So let me break it down for you a little bit. Of all the graduating high school seniors last year applying for fall of 2018, 221,000 students applied to the UC system. So individual applicants, right? So that's freshman applicants and transfer applicants. At UCLA alone, UCLA received over 135,000 total applicants and over 110,000 freshman applicants.
Right.
So basically more than half
right.
of the total pool applied just to UCLA,
mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So we also break that down and we say, okay, of those 5, I think most people listening and really wanting to take this class are freshman applicants going
right.
to be going into their freshman year in fall of 2019. So we talk about UCLA being the hot mama,
yep.
and but UC Santa Barbara,
yeah.
San Diego,
yep.
Berkeley,
yep.
and Irvine.
Yep.
Irvine is
yep.
really shining, and it's a hot place to be. But I'm telling you, again, you've got Riverside, Santa Cruz. Santa Cruz is one of my favorite towns, by the way.
Yeah.
And Merced. Merced is also on fire. It's growing. It's going to be doubling in the next few years. So that is another place to really be thinking about as well as we move into this
and
landscape.
I think the great thing about doing this boot camp, offering this boot camp, is that all of us have a tremendous amount of experience. We worked with hundreds of students who, as they apply to the University of California, have found success. We had Regent and Chancellor Scholar winners this year, UCLA Regent Scholarship winners, Blue and Gold winners. We had, for any of our students that we worked with, we really felt like it was a blessing if they had the opportunity because the quality of the University of California is so strong.
And such a deal, right?
Yes,
Financially, I mean, it is so expensive to go to college. So if you can access a UC,
yes.
And you're a resident of California, it is probably one of the best bargains in the country. It really is. But Vince, you and Caryl worked with a number of students this year who applied to the UCs, and truth be told, you just can't just go into it, wildly and say, I think I'm going to apply. You've got to write 4 essays.
Right.
You've got to choose a major. You've got to explain to the colleges, what is that's special about you, and you only have 1,400 words. That's it.
Right.
So you got to be really strategic. So we're going to go through an applicant that was somebody that they worked with, and we're going to just break it down because that's the key. If you can get between the three of us, we have 50 years experience. So having us work with you one-on-one in 4 days, you're going to see what we can do in 4 days. So let's walk through Kat.
All right.
Okay, so let's discover Kat here.
All right. So one of the things that's really important to think about is the University of California, the most important quality in admissions is an academic profile for each student.
Yep.
And students are really competing against others from their high school, but they're looking at your overall A through G courses, and A through G courses we'll talk a little bit more about are classes that sort of drive you through the type of education that you need to have if you're going to be a successful student at the University of California. They look at GPA, they look at an unweighted GPA, they look at a UC CAP GPA, which is 8 honors and honors or AP classes or IB courses, and they come up with a GPA. So the UC CAP GPA, the highest GPA you can get when they cap it at 8 is a 4.4. This particular young woman did an exceptional job.
She did.
She had an unweighted GPA of a 3.95 and a weighted GPA of 4.32, which means when you look at her grades in 10th and 11th grade, she had 1B. She had 1B in Algebra 2. She went to an independent school, so she took advantage of the opportunities that the school offered her. As we look at, and one of the things that just popped up were her high school courses. And what's important to look at there, in each year she maxed out in the number of AP and honor courses her school would allow her to take. And she wrote in the academic additional information section what the max was, because she wanted them to understand that even though there were more opportunities, she was limited by what the school would allow her to take.
So 2 points here I think are worth talking about. And first of all, there could be, whether you go to a high school that only air quotes, only offers 10 honors and AP classes, you're going to be looked at against and measured against what your high school offers, right? So if you're taking all 10 of those, great. If you're going to a high school that offers 25 honors and AP courses and you're only taking 2, you're going to be measured against that as well. So this kid, Kat, what Vince is really talking about is that this school offered probably every honors and AP known and known to man, but they did have a cap, a maximum of what she could take, and she took that maximum.
Yeah, and it was really impressive because she was obviously really successful in those courses as well. Okay. We also see that there's a section in the University of California application where you focus on what do? What are you going to bring to the University of California community? And you see that this particular student had some segment points or activities that really bounced off the page because they were so interesting. Okay. She did research in Washington, D.C. She made a presentation about digitizing historical documents that talked about the Armenian genocide, and it really, really spoke passionately and in an interesting way about that particular passion. And then she involved herself in her high school. She was a leader of 3 organizations: National Honor Society, California Scholarship Federation, and also the Armenian Society at her school. So when you were looking for somebody who's going to lead and bring their passions to their community, she really represented that well.
And when I look at this yellow box, you might be thinking, there's not a whole lot in there. It's not about quantity. Yes. It's about quality. Yes. And there's a theme there, and so she's taking her real passion, doing something sort of global or nationally, and also doing it in her local community. Yes. So whether you sing or dance or whatever, do robotics, whatever, and you do it on a regional or national level, be sure that you're doing it also in your own small community. Right. Don't forget to skip out. Don't skip out on school.
And your peers are benefiting from that knowledge as well.
Right.
And it was interesting because when we get to the essays, we'll see briefly how she brought those strengths out rather than sort of rehashing her activity list.
Yep.
She really talked specifically about how it changed her, how it shaped her intellectual ideas and notions. So we also see there's a section in the University of California where they're really interested in your background.
Yes,
and
they
so,
are. Mm-hmm.
So what is your financial background? What is how much education have your parents or grandparents received? And they ask about languages. And for this individual, first language was not English. It was 2 languages. It was Armenian and Arabic and English.
Wow.
But she also committed herself through 12 years of education in Mandarin. So for somebody to bring all of those abilities in language to a campus was really attractive. And she talked about that in one of her essays.
I think the UCs do a good job of trying to reflect the population of California, the diversity that we have in California.
Yes.
So I really applaud them for that. So
Yes.
that's great.
And they're also looking for people to demonstrate that in ways that will make the classroom, but also the outside the classroom atmosphere as interesting as what's happening in the classroom.
I mean, you can see what a great roommate she's going to be and a classmate she's going to be and how she's going to add to the dialogue there.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you see that both in her essays, but also the length of her commitment. These weren't just,
right.
2 months and she was out. It was 4 years of involvement, 3 or 4 years of involvement consistently. The other thing they look for is they look for initiative. And this student really tried to understand other academic subjects that weren't offered at her high school. So she took 4 classes. She got 4 A's, so that counted for a year's long worth of college level credit. And she did that while she was going to school during the academic year. So it showed that this person, you couldn't stop this person because they were really interested in learning, and they took classes that they were interested in that were just not available at our high school.
The key word there was initiative, taking initiative. So whether it's academic initiative or doing other things, taking initiative in something that you love and want to do. Yeah.
Now, this is probably one of the most surprising parts of Kat's application, because I think sometimes students feel like the test scores after the academics, both rigor of your courses and number of courses and all those things, the testing is the second most important thing. And we see here, Kat did a great job on the SAT, but didn't realize that until sort of late in the process, switched gears, did self-study, and submitted the SAT, which was a much better, stronger score than their ACT. So if you're finding that you are having difficulty sort of figuring out what your test is, the most important thing as you move into your senior year, if your test scores are not moving, maybe it's a different test. Yeah. Consider that.
And juniors who are rising juniors, you might want to think taking a practice early on to see which one is better for you.
Tons of assessments, free assessments available. College Board, ACT, both have free assessments available. Now, as we sort of, another section is, what is the student interested in studying? And they, because of their interest in the Middle East, the Near East, we found that there were particular majors through research that really fit her interests. And she had actually taken classes in those. She had language background, and she talked in her essays about how she might pursue that at a university level based on what she had done in high school.
Great.
So when you look at the major choices at Berkeley and UCLA, they were a great match. You could imagine her being successful in those classroom situations. And then
the essays,
the personal insight questions,
which are 4.
Yes, out of 8, and she chose 4. The first one she chose to write about was really about making her community a better place. How did she do that? She developed technology that helped her high school peers get better tutoring.
Oh, fantastic.
But the best thing about, I think, the essay for me was that she personalized it and told one story where it had an impact on one of her younger peers who kind of set her sights on doing well academically, but without the change, without creating this technology, that student couldn't have done better.
Wow.
So it was a great essay. Second one was taking advantage of a significant educational opportunity. Here they talked about being a host for Chinese students.
Right.
And being able to communicate with them in a really powerful and meaningful way, and for them to see this
Was she a host at her home or on the campus?
On the campus.
Yeah.
In both her home and on the campus. But for those young kids to see somebody who is not Chinese speak Mandarin and speak it well.
Right.
It was just, but it changed her because she could see that she was beginning, like her parents had done, she was able to bridge all these communication bridges because she spoke more than just English. And she talked about that in the essay.
Which is great because, again, circling back to her loves and her passions, and who knew that was going to be something that she'd end up writing about. I'm sure she wasn't thinking that through at the time, but what a great thing to offer that student.
And the other thing I really liked about these essays is that they were really specific, they were authentic, and you saw the person after reading them. You could see what her impact could be.
I just want to comment as from viewing from behind the camera is that I really feel her jumping off the page.
Yeah.
That the pieces of the puzzle are really coming together here.
Yes.
And that's
and so authentically that her story is just boom.
Yeah.
Right.
Powerful.
It's hard to miss.
Right.
That
double click.
That double click. Yeah, talk a little bit more about that.
So, I'm listening to these essays, and as we talk about social media and what students do, the goal is to get an admission officer to want to double click, right? Just like we do with Instagram. So are you interesting, engaging, or compelling? And as we're listening and learning about Kat, she is all of those things. And when you can get an admission officer, when you can tell your story, right? You double click on Instagram on a photo, not necessarily for what's there, but how you capture that image, how you capture that story, right? A tree is a tree is a tree, right? But someone who captures this image of a tree in such a beautiful way or such a compelling way, that's when you double click.
Right.
And so that's what really the three of us are the experts in, is taking everyday stories that are in your life, everyday parts of you, and figuring out together how to capture that story so that you do pop off the page and people want to double click.
Right. Another way that she did that, she talked about a favorite academic subject and how that influenced her as a student. So there she got really specific, again, going back to the project she conducted in Washington, D.C., where she helped a professor digitize important documents that referred not only to her cultural heritage and an important historical fact that people don't understand very well.
Right.
She knew that it's much easier to access information when it's on a computer. And when she gave that presentation in front of 200 to 300 different academics, she felt empowered because she felt like she had taken advantage of the tools, and she talked about that in her essay.
Well, her languages, her heritage, technology. So now two essays are sort of incorporating the technology piece. Yeah. It's really great.
And then the final one, leadership. And this one was really terrific because it took a specific event here in Los Angeles. There's always a day where people who are Armenian ancestry, they talk specifically, and they host really specific events throughout Los Angeles that highlight that. And she talked about bringing not only her family and understanding through her grandparents' eyes, her parents' eyes, through her peers' eyes, what was happening, and allowing people access to that was really important. And I thought she talked about being that bridge for others as being really important to her.
Great. Amazing.
So tell us a little about the UC application, creating a killer UC application course that we're sponsoring this July.
Wow. So if this is any example of what kind of application you'll get in 4 days, I mean, I can't, there's no better way to sell this. But here's the thing. I used to do this boot camp, and I used to do one too, and we would have it in class, right? And so many people go away for family vacation, or maybe you're doing sports. So we've come together, Q&A, College Admissions, and Dr. Cynthia Colon, we've come together to offer 2 weeks of virtual camps, virtual essay camps. And more than that, it's a comprehensive camp.
Yes.
So this was specifically for those of you who are applying to the UC, any of them, whether you're applying to one or all 8 of them, this camp is for you. Why? Because as you can see, there's so much to do and so much to think about, and to be strategic about what your major is, what pieces of the puzzle go in your essays, how you capture that story. So there are probably lots of things that you could write about, but we help you sort of hone in on what's going to be best for you to pop off the page. So not only are we going to do the essays with you in those 4 days, but we're going to go through the whole application, and there's a lot to do, right? Your academic pieces, your pieces about your activities, how you highlight your leadership and anything that you do in school, out of school, the pieces that say, what else do we need to know about you? Remember, I can't emphasize enough that when you apply to private schools, you get to have letters of recommendation from your teachers and your counselor. Not true with the UC system. So you are your own advocate. Only those 4 essays really get to tell your story. So it's really crucial to get some advice. And I dare say, I think we might be the best advisors to give you.
Right. We have a lot of experience, a lot of knowledge. Many of our students were successful in the process. And getting someone break down each section, the educational section. What do you put in the additional information session? What important information is key to put in those sections? Do I submit all of my test scores? Do I submit some of my test scores? Are there some majors that it's so important that you submit subject test scores? Well, we'll cover that.
We will. And everything, whether if you're doing engineering versus, a language or English, all of those things are different, and it's going to matter. It's going to determine what advice we're going to give you. So really a comprehensive look. So let's see, Caryl, tell us the dates.
Okay.
And how they can sign up. Here are the
details right here. So you can go to Q&A or just QA collegeadmissions.com, and you can enroll at for the UC application boot camp. We have 2 live boot camps. It would be from 9 to 1 each day. The first one is from July 10th through the 13th, so 4 days there, and then again July 31st through August 1st. And if you can't make it live, they will be recorded, and you can do them at your own pace. So lots of opportunity, like Cynthia said, if you're on vacation or you want to do part of it live and then do the rest of it recorded, we will still have an opportunity to review your essays. You'll submit a super easy platform that we use, so it's very user-friendly. And the good part is if you use the code GET-ME-IN before July 1st, we'll give you 10% off the courses. So don't hesitate, enroll now, and we promise we will help you create that killer UC application. You guys have some final thoughts before we go?
My final thought is you should know Kat was admitted to all of the UCs that she applied to.
Amazing. Again, it's easy to look and say, oh my gosh, she had, all A's, whatever. I have to say, we know plenty of students who had perfect A, all straight A's, and didn't get into
higher test scores.
So it's really not just about, your grades and your test scores. It's about the whole package. It's really about the whole package, which I think is why all 3 of us came together and said, this is really something. So parents out there, if you want to take this off of your plate, you don't want to have the stress the additional stress of applying to 13 colleges in the fall with your teenager that you're pulling your hair out because they also, do 1,400 other things in the senior year. So get this out of the way, and really, it's about being able to have the time to reflect on what you're going to write about,
Yep.
and draft and draft and draft. So your sons and daughters will be 5 steps ahead of the game by doing this course. There you go.
And here's the information one last time.
Thank you, everybody.
Q&A, collegeadmissions.com, and all the information you need is right there. Thanks for joining us, and join us again next week when we go over the profile of yet another successful student.
Bye, everyone.
Bye. Thank you.